Ken Kesey's classic novel, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, there's a description of a hen pecking party, which is where in a flock of chickens, if there's a speck of blood seen on one chicken, the rest of that flock of chickens will attack that chicken and peck at that spot of blood. And in that process, they will tear that chicken apart, literally. In that process, also, inevitably, other specks of blood fall on other chickens, who can then be attacked by the rest of the flock. And as a kid, I might have thought that this was a clever invention of an author until, as a senior in high school, when my family actually raised a flock of chickens, I had the opportunity to actually witness this happen, and it's a real thing. And it serves well as a metaphor in the book for Nurse Ratchet's psychological manipulation of the patients under her charge, and it's a terrible thing to consider, the way she sets patients against each other so that they never recognize her as the greater enemy. It can serve as an effective metaphor for people operating in group situations like that, and unfortunately, all too often, it also can serve as an effective metaphor for humanity as a whole. And I think of that when I look at the terrible events of Paris over the past weekend, where there is a call right now among many people for retribution and going to war and dropping bombs. Donald Trump, of course, in a classic Trump-ism, announced that he would go to the Syrian wells, I believe, that he, or at least the wells in the Middle East that he perceives as supporting these terrorists, and he would bomb the shit out of them. And that's a great, fist-pumping, let's go team way of rallying the troops, I suppose, but I don't think that it solves this short-term problem, and it certainly does not solve any long-term problems and make life better for the future. Because what happens is that blood gets splattered, and that blood lands all around and just perpetuates a cycle of violence. Because we have limited view for what we remember. We remember the attacks of 9/11. We remember the USS Cole. We remember Charlie Hebdo. We remember every time that these terrorists have struck at the United States or at Western civilization. And we don't want to think that the people behind it have any possible reason for this kind of behavior, these actions, except that they're possibly evil. They're not evil. They're misguided. They're stupid. They're a cancerous tumor on the face of humanity. But they're not evil. I say this because I don't know that we can ever hope to eliminate evil. Not because I think evil is all-powerful or anything like that, but because evil is too enticing. When you describe someone as evil, too often you make it sound like, ooh, they're a badass. And who doesn't want to be a badass? Especially the disenfranchised, those people who don't have much authority over their own lives, they don't have much control over the way the world goes, and they long to have some kind of feeling of control and a feeling that their lives matter and make a difference. But stupidity, I think we can largely eliminate stupidity. It takes a long time. It does not happen easily, doesn't happen quickly, doesn't happen cheaply. But stupidity eventually can be eliminated. And these people are misguided, they're misinformed, they are deluded in what they think their actions will produce as a result of what they do. And if we can get people to understand that, I think there's a better chance of eliminating these actions. That does not mean, by the way, that I think we turn the other cheek blindly and just go on our way and say, oh, there's nothing to be done and we just need to provide schooling and grants and gifts to these undeveloped nations. No, we need to make it clear that this is counterproductive to whatever aims they hope to achieve, and any agent of any government institution, those governments cannot stand. I was not opposed to the first Gulf War. I was not opposed when we went into Afghanistan. I think that there are times, and there certainly who today opposes the actions to take out Hitler and Mussolini. There are governments that cannot stand, and sometimes, yes, you need to use military force to take care of that. But we cannot blame a whole category of people like Syrians for the actions of a very tiny majority, any more, as has often been pointed out, than you can blame Christians for the Ku Klux Klan. So I hope that in the long run, Paris is not one more episode of a henpecking party, that we take the time to try to understand what happened, we take the time to identify who is responsible and target them specifically, not blanket, attack one section of the world and demonize those people, people that we see as having some characteristics similar to those people, whether they look like them, talk like them, worship like them. I hope that cooler heads prevail and we get done what needs to be done. I hope that fear doesn't take over. I don't think it will, because Paris is something much stronger than an attack that kills even a few hundred people can probably change very it cannot diminish the spirit of a people that is that strong and that intelligent. In the long run, intelligence wins over ignorance, and that's what we have to remember. And we have to fight the ignorance, not just terrorism. I don't know if I have any more than that 2 cents to toss in on the subject of Paris this weekend. It's tragic, and our heart goes out to everyone involved there. But in the long run, things get better. They don't get worse. And I really believe that if we all remember to be awesome. So until next time, don't forget to be awesome. And I will talk to you again soon. Still, hopefully.